All right, here we go. It is Nebrasketball Hour brought to you by Nebraska Realty, Wahoo Office. Nebraska 74, Maryland 61. And the Huskers move to 24-4, 13-4 in the Big Ten. Only 3 games left, 2 on the road, 1 at home. It was a little scary tonight for a while, and then it got really good. We'll talk about all of that coming up. Glad to have you with us. If it's your first time watching or listening, I'm Jack Mitchell. My co-host is Kaleb Henry here on the Nebrasketball Hour. We are on the I-80 Club Network, and we'll be taking the comments during the game from our Discord. Those are our subscribing members. But if you want to get your comments in during the show on YouTube, we will take your super chats during the show. You don't have to be necessarily a subscriber to do that, although some of the subscribers do that too. So that'd be great. And that's what we got going on. I just got home from the game as quickly as I could. Actually, I kind of beat traffic. That was kind of exciting there. I left with about 30 seconds left. Beat traffic, and it was a tale of 75% of the game and 25% of the game, I thought, tonight, with the last 10 minutes of the game just feeling markedly different than the rest of it, and Nebraska pulling away at that point after being behind at, I believe, the 12-minute timeout. Or was it? Yeah, I think it was a 12-minute timeout. Nebraska was down by 3 and ends up winning the game by 13 and outscoring Maryland in both halves, but 41-34 in the second half. Leading scorer on the night for the Huskers was Frager with 21 off the bench. Kaleb, good evening. Kaleb is live from Pinnacle Bank Arena.
It's me.
I guess take it away. Tell me what your thoughts on tonight's win for Nebraska were.
The lack of offense to begin the game. I made the joke that it was no-sit Wednesday, but it wasn't because it was a big game. It was because Nebraska just couldn't make any shots. And you go through and you get to the under 16, but you trail only 5-0. When you're going through and thinking about that, I watched some of the Big 12 games the last couple of days, and those just look like absolute chaos compared to the Big 10. But one of the teams yesterday had 20 points 5 minutes into the game. Nebraska, on the other hand, trailed 5-0. It was just so weird, the dichotomy of what you can get in games in college basketball. But you went through, and it wasn't like the defense was causing Nebraska to miss a lot of those shots. There were so many good shots that happened as Nebraska started 0 for 6. And then you go, here's instant energy, Braden Frager. Here's a couple of free throws. Sanford gets a layup. Here's a Frager 3, and boom. In 47 seconds, after not scoring for 5 minutes, it took 47 seconds for Nebraska to take the lead. And it really plays even from there. And I thought there was an opportunity for Nebraska to blow it open earlier in the second half when you got to the Frager breakaway dunk. But you had an answer with a 3 right there. You had a run for Maryland in that second half that started it was continued because you'd already had a bucket, but it was as part of a 7-0 run, and only one made basket in 5 minutes for Nebraska as part of the offensive foul on Rienk Mast, over and back on the Berke, throwing it to Sam Hoiberg. But what happened out of that is, yes, you got Maryland with a little more life. There was a lot more energy in the building out of that. And then you just kind of stay the course, and an 18-3 run will definitely help you. And it kind of put it away from there. Maryland just couldn't overcome that, and Nebraska just pulls away, and you've got last-minute 3-pointers from Sanford to get it to as many as 15. It was a grinded-out, ugly win. But at the end of the day, it's a win. And the big part in this, Jack, is for the first time since my first year on this earth, Nebraska basketball is guaranteed to have single-digit losses on the season.
Oh, wow. So you mean for the full season?
Yeah, since
Okay.
1991, and they went 26-8. This team can go on a 5-game losing streak right now, Jack, and not have double-digit losses.
Wow. That's true. That is true. And, they ended up getting the win by 13 in this game, and Maryland covers. And I think in the end, you probably say it was closer than you really wanted it to be for the vast majority of the game. But yet, by the end, Nebraska wins again by double digits against a team they're a significant favorite in the Big Ten. And there haven't been any of those where it's been in doubt at the end of the game. If you think about the Penn States and the Northwesterns and the Rutgers and the Minnesotas of the world, none of them. Washington, really none of them have been in doubt at the end. And that's been one of the really interesting thing about this team is that I believe like South Carolina Upstate is only one of those games that Nebraska won by single digits. If you take a look at the ones where they were favored, I don't know if it would be a double digit favorite, but I think you know what I mean. The type of game that happens. And you're right. It was so sluggish early. It really felt like it might finally be that game where everybody's looking ahead. The crowd it's a late arriving crowd because it's a 6:00 game. Everybody's kind of just thinking about the Iowa game, the road trip, the postseason right now. And
guys have been sick.
Yeah, guys have been sick, and you're like, okay, well, this is going to be that game where it is just grind it to the very end. And Maryland was making shots, and even when it looked like Nebraska was trying to pull away, like you pointed out, there was about 5 possessions in a row where Nebraska, whether it was that in that area where Frager had the dunk that you were talking about, where Maryland answered every momentum grabbing. Like Nebraska would have a play, and you're like, okay, that's going to be it. That's going to be the one where they pull away. And Maryland would get down there and they would hit a 3 or they would get offensive rebounds and get one back. And they had answers for so long in that game until they didn't anymore. And then they went cold at the end of the game. They stopped getting offensive rebounds at the end of the game as well. And Nebraska, to me, the thing about this game that I am going to remember is actually not that it was not the 3 quarters of the game that were closer than they should have been, although maybe it should be.
Yeah.
I am going to remember that last 10 minutes of that game. And the reason is because I haven't seen that version of Nebraska's offense for a long time. And that is up-tempo, Jamarcus Lawrence being the one, I think, who is the key to it being up-tempo like that. The quick passes, it was what I saw several times early in the year when they looked like they were at their best. Rienk Mast looked like he had the yips most of the game, to be honest, and we'll probably get into that. But they started using him like they used to.
Yeah.
And they started drawing double teams with him like they used to in the last 10 minutes. Like so many things about the last 10 minutes of that offense finally looked like that era of the offense that we go back and talk about so much. The glory days of Wisconsin and Creighton and Oklahoma and New Mexico and all of those games. You had a glimpse of that in the way they were playing. And to me, Kaleb, it was all about, I think primarily Jamarcus Lawrence, but about the entire team playing with pace during that time and pushing the ball in transition. I think they've got to do that more often is where I landed after that, because that was the difference in the offense getting going tonight.
Yeah, during that stretch that you're talking about, and that was the 18-3, and I mentioned it in my game recap that's up at huskermax.com, but there was an energy and an effort, and not to say that there was not an effort throughout the game. There was just a different energy and a different effort when it was like Nebraska went, we're turning it on now. And as soon as it got turned on, it's hard for the other team to respond, especially if it's an overmatched team like Maryland, who just was like clinging to life, trying to stay in it, hit another shot here. Once Nebraska turned it on and flipped the switch, You were not getting extra offensive rebounds. If there was a ball on the floor, Nebraska got it. If there was an opportunity for Nebraska to tip a pass or just steal it outright, every single one of those, it wasn't a 50-50 ball. It was a 99-1 ball. And Nebraska was the 99. And then Nebraska was going ballistic, hitting shots on the other side. You had a media timeout, and Nebraska had kind of scraped. It was about a 5-point lead. And then you come out of that and you go Rienk Mast bucket in the paint, followed by Sanford with the steal, goes down to the right corner, kind of gets stuck. You go pass, back to Sanford, drills the three, and Buzz Williams, a.k.a. the Joker for the way he was dressed up tonight, is like, yeah, we got to call another timeout in just over a minute. And it was just bang, bang. And like Nebraska controlled it so much from there, but it was an energy and an effort. And part of that plays into when they are playing like that defensively and things are clicking offensively, you see guys like Jamarcus want to grab the ball and just go. And it's helpful when they go and you're hitting shots, because then you feel like you want to go again. You want to just get right back down there to it. But you're right. It's not a pace we see all that often.
No,
for this team.
But it's just like they felt in rhythm in a way they haven't for so long with the way they were passing and having Maryland actually on their heels on defense, which we just haven't seen enough of with this offense. Going like even outside of that part of the game that you were talking about, 12:07, Andre Mills makes a jumper that gives Maryland a 3-point lead at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's the 12-minute timeout after Maryland gets a rebound. So they've got the ball on a 3-point lead with 11:39 left in the game. And that's when they put J-Law in for Cale Jacobson after that moment. They got him back in the game. And Maryland did not score another field goal. I don't know if they even had another point. Maybe they had a free throw. I don't think they even had a field goal. So the time in between field goals, 12:07 was when they had that 3 or that 2-pointer to give them the lead. Yeah. The next field goal that they had was another 3 at 4.
They hit a 3 at 8:51, and then they don't get another one until 4:22. So they made one basket in about 8 minutes.
Oh, there was one. I missed the 8:51 3.
Yeah, okay. So it's one made basket in about 8 minutes of action as Nebraska goes on that 18-3 run.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. And then they didn't make another one until they hit a 3 with about 4 minutes left in the game. And by that time, that cut the lead from 12 to 9. And it was pretty much all over. Hoiberg had one more blow by at that point. You could tell the game was over. And so that was the stretch where Nebraska just blitzed them. They weren't able to hit shots. They weren't getting the offensive rebounds anymore. And you look at the points scored during that time and the way Nebraska was playing offense during that time. They started off right away. Rienk Mast finally got that layup after Price got a rebound. He got a layup there. Then Frager got fouled, puts 2 in. Then Frager hits that 3 in the corner. And then you got Rienk Mast got that 8-foot jumper. You had Rienk Mast make another layup, and then all of a sudden Rienk is in. He still missed some shots that he needs to make, no doubt about it in that game. But there he had 3 out of the 4 scoring plays there for Nebraska. Frager then got another layup. Sanford hit that 3 that Lawrence gave him the extra pass on. That put Nebraska up by 10. And at that moment at 5:35, it kind of, you knew it was over at that point.
Yeah.
But you saw what happened when they pushed the pace and Rienk Mast got involved. Those were those two things. It's just exciting to see that offense again this year. And I because even when they've played well, I haven't seen that offense for big stretches of the game.
Right.
And I think those were the two things that were different about it. You got to get defensive stops, and they were getting defensive stops so you can push it a little bit. But something about the way they were using Rienk Mast, and someone else will have to explain the X's and O's of it other than that they were playing faster. They finally had him feel like he was an active part of the offense, which he just hadn't to that point in that game or most of the last month, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's one of those things when you're looking at that stretch in the first half where things are just like they're going wrong to start the game, Sam Hoiberg has 2 turnovers before Nebraska scores a point.
Yeah, it was rough.
Like, here's the thing: Sam had gone all season without having a 3 turnover game. He's now had it in back-to-back games, and he's still the assist to turnover leader or ratio leader in the country.
Yeah.
And he had 2 before Nebraska scored a point today. And then Rienk had a drive, and then just like again, he forced it into traffic and had a turnover there. But you're right, getting Rienk kind of isolated inside a little bit more into some advantageous situations, trying to get him going. Because if they can get him going on the inside, especially if he has a mismatch or he has it opens up so much of the rest of the
whole
offense.
Key to that offense being at its highest level.
Yeah.
It absolutely is him being a threat inside. And I don't know, up to that point in the game, my only explanation was just like he's inside of his head at this point, because he's passing up open shots. He's not trying. He's got one-on-one matchups in the post, and he just doesn't look like he's got the confidence. It's so bizarre. It's such a weird thing to happen to him at this point in his career, given his experience, and given that, he was out with the flu for a couple of games, or wasn't 100% for maybe 3 games, but to have that much of an impact, like, I don't know what's happened with him, but something seemed to spark him a little bit in that last 10 minutes. I'm putting a lot of hope in that for the game tonight. And then the other thing about that last run, and especially in the last 5 minutes, man, I will tell you what, Sam Hoiberg got the most energy of anyone on the court in the last minutes of games. And we saw it against Penn State when the game was not in doubt, but then we saw it against Maryland, and just nobody is going. It's partly fatigue, maybe it's motivation, I don't know. But he gets to the point where he's worn down his opponent so much that he can kind of go in it with, he can just play faster than them.
Yes.
He got that 5th foul who was that on for Maryland. He fouled him out of the game, and he just measured him up, and that was on Metcalf. Metcalf got that 5th foul after he was taunting the student section earlier in the game, and Hoiberg just measured him up, and then he had one of his signature baseline, I'm going to get to the point faster than you will. I mean, the way he played, some of the steals he had at the end, he was playing so well in those last few minutes of the game. And you mentioned at the beginning, he was off, but you always have him at the end.
Yes.
And I think that's his time of the game, just because he's got the endurance or something, or the mental stamina or something that these players don't have anymore at the end of the game.
Yeah. And I mean, that was one of the things really when you had the breakout for Sam a couple of years ago, was he wasn't starting, but you had to have him in at the end of games because he was so important for you at the end of games, whether it was able to hit a shot because he's open or he's there, but especially defensively, kind of just locking people down. But as we've talked about the evolution of him, just being so aggressive offensively at times, when he's like, there's room in the paint and I'm going to get there before you are, and you're either going to foul me or I'm going to get a wide open layup. And that's one of the things that is missing at times in these big games. We talked about it against Purdue. We talked about it against Illinois. Get somebody who can just go get in the paint when you need it in winning time. And Sam did it especially during that stretch. And then defensively, he's all over the place. And if he can get a pick 6, that's such a morale boost for the entire team. And when it's at home, the entire arena goes nuts for it.
Yeah, that one that he had, they try to he kind of jumped a pass that they had thrown to Mills, and he jumped it and had that one. That was kind of when that whole era of the game, the end of the game, started. That time that I was talking about there. So there you go. Hey, let's give a shout out to our title sponsor this year for the Nebrasketball Hour, Nebraska Realty. And it's an office. It's somewhere. It's not in Lincoln. Where's that office, Kaleb?
WH or WAHOO. Wahoo.
You misspelled Wahoo. Amazing.
Wahoo.
He doesn't want to get yelled at. He doesn't want to sing too loud. Seamus will be mad. Yes, our friends at Nebraska Realty Office. They do a great job, great service, enjoyable sales experience. They're fun, good guys. They're Husker basketball fans as well, and you're going to like dealing with them. But at the same time, they're the most aggressive and professional group of real estate agents in the area, and that you see it in their results. They're all top 10 with Nebraska Realty. That's impressive to get them all in that one office. And so between Omaha and Lincoln, and so it's great wherever you're at in eastern Nebraska. Just because they're located in Wahoo does not mean that's the only place that they do realty. No, it's in the cities. It is ag sales, it is auctions, it is estate sales, is it all of these things. They got one of the best auctioneers in Dan in the entire state, maybe the best, doing the work there. And so if you've got land auctions, if you're doing new construction, if you're doing new subdivisions, Kurt, Tim, Dan, they're going to get it done for you. And it's a dream team that's put together up there in Wahoo, Kaleb.
Yeah, there's no 5 minutes of no offense and just great defense. These guys are on 100% of the time, both ends of the floor for you, and they're going to get it done for you, whether it's your home, it's farmland, it's auction, it's personal property at auction. Again, like you said, they've got the best when it comes to auctioneers, and these guys are the best in what you're going to want to look for, not just eastern Nebraska, not just Wahoo area, but all across the state. These are the number one guys you're going to want to talk to, and we're so happy that they jumped on board with us. All it took was a full mast t-shirt and a ball being thrown at the Pentagon, and then
a few texts with me while I drove back from Sioux Falls.
Yes, exactly. So we're so happy for Kurt and Dan and all of these guys, yep, and Tim jumping on and writing out a magical season with us. And it's one of those things, Jack, that not just are we having fun with this, but the guys at Nebraska Realty and Wahoo are having a lot of fun this year too.
I know. I was a little worried. I didn't get a text from Kurt from the end zone tonight. He usually gives me a report on exactly how busy, how early it is, and he just rubs it in my face that maybe on Sunday I will get to end zone. Maybe a week from Sunday when they have Iowa there, because I'm going to be in a mood on that night. Anyway, call our friends at Nebraska Realty, 402-443-3415. And don't forget to tell them that you heard us talking about them on the Nebrasketball Hour. Yeah, that Iowa game. It dawned on me, there was like 3 minutes left in the game, and I was like, oh my gosh, Sam Hoiberg and the other seniors, but Hoiberg was having a great moment then. I was like, this is his second to last game at Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Penultimate, yeah.
You know, normally at the end of the year, you're like, oh, they could get an NIT home game and have another like, that's not an option this year.
No.
Sad. I miss the old days of the potential NIT home game.
Jack, it is like they played this game. They're going to go to LA, and then they're going to come back, and then they're immediately going to take off after that Iowa game to go to the Big Ten tournament. Like you're not going to get a game near Lincoln other than the Iowa game the rest of this year.
Yeah, no. And I'll tell you what, both in the radio show afterwards and a little bit of the press conference, it was interesting because you hear so many Big Ten coaches complain about travel, not to specifically mention one that Nebraska takes on next week. But so much. And again, I guess they've got to come this way more often than once in a year, but Fred Hoiberg said in both of the times, he was like, I'm so excited to go on. I love road trips like this. He was like, great bonding time. We've got activities planned for the team.
We're going to see the Hollywood sign.
He sounded like he was going on vacation. I think maybe it feels like that to him. It's been a long season.
We're going to go see the stars with the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
But he was just like going on about how he enjoyed just the idea that they were going on this long trip, and not because normally you'd come back between games, but they'll stay out there between games, take on USC on Saturday, and then UCLA at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. By the way, 6 days, 6 nights from now, Kaleb, it will be an hour and 6 minutes until tip off.
I was telling someone that when I was writing my post game, I was like, you know what? Like, it's almost my bedtime now. Like, I've had a couple of Mountain Dews. I'm good to go for the show, but it's almost my bedtime now. And we're not even close to tip time for that game.
But by the way, just a heads up now, that game, instead of a post-game show, we are going to do a live watch party, which we have not done yet this year. We did a few of them last year. Kaleb and I will be there. We may have some other cameos. We like to line those up. It's kind of like, if you haven't ever seen one, it's kind of like the Manning cast, where we'll sync up what we're watching. In fact, we may actually watch the same TV this time around. And so you can try and sync it up with your TV and watch with us and see our live reactions during the course of games as Nebraska takes on UCLA. And that'll also be brought to you by Nebraska Realty Wahoo office. And so that will be a late but fun night. I'll be definitely hitting the caffeine that evening, later in the evening than I usually do. So make sure and join us. That'll be at 10 o'clock. That'll be for the public. Everyone can be a part of that. So that'll be right here on this.
I'll bring a case of Code Red for us.
Okay.
There we go.
I mean, I think I'll probably still stop at about 8, and then maybe I'll switch over to something that makes me a little more sleepy at some point. We'll try and time everything right.
Get some beers. Are we going to do sips for supers again?
We could. I mean, it'll probably have to be me, but yeah. I mean, we won't have Bigelow drinking a bottle of wine.
I can stay on your couch down there. It's fine, right? It's fine.
You can hang out. That'll be great. So that's a plan, and it'll be, like I said, it'll be right here on this YouTube channel. So if you haven't already liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel, this would be a great time to do that. That doesn't cost you anything. Let's go inside of the box score tonight. What stood out to you? One of the things, Kaleb, that stood out to me is Nebraska had 4 players in double digits. Frager had 21. Price had 16, and it's clear that those two are kind of since that Oregon game, when those two just absolutely went off in the second half, they've kind of become 1A and 1B in some order when it comes to scoring. You also had Rienk Mast, who did end up with 13 tonight. And so most of those were in that. I think he had 4 going into that last 10 minutes, and he got the other 9 during that last quarter of the game. Sam Hoiberg had 12 points on 4 for 4 shooting from the field, including 1 3-pointer as well. The other thing in the box score that I noticed right off the bat, Kaleb, 24 free throws for Nebraska.
Yes.
That would be the other thing, that if they can do that, they don't get to the line much. But to be able to get to the line 24 times tonight and a few times there during that last stretch too, when the offense was really cooking, I think that was huge for them tonight. It's just not something that you see very often. And so I'm not even sure exactly what the catalyst of that was, if it was how Maryland was playing defense. In terms of free throws, actually, Berke shot the most free throws of anyone. He had 7 free throws tonight. Yeah. Only made 4 of them, but he shot the most free throws for Nebraska. And then Frager shot 6. And that's the other thing. You've got to get Frager to be an inside-outside threat, a driving and shooting threat, I guess is what I mean. That's a huge thing for him. So those are the things in the box score. Kaleb, what stood out to you?
Well, it was right away. It was those free throws, because you had almost twice as many fouls called on Maryland, 19 to 10 fouls called on Nebraska. Think about the games that we've talked about where it's flipped and it's the other way. And we're looking at the foul discrepancy. Don't yawn while I'm talking. I'm making very good points here.
I'm looking at the box score.
You have no idea how entertaining I can be, and you're just going to yawn while I'm talking about foul discrepancy.
Come on, man. You know how much I've been going to sleep and have been sleeping.
Jeez. Anyway, the difference to me on those fouls being called is that they were actually called when Nebraska was driving. Like, how often has there been the contact?
That's true.
And those fouls aren't called. Today they were called, and you got to the free throw line. And so that's where all of those add up. You also think about how early in the game you had those turnovers. We talked about Sam and those 2 turnovers right away. He ends up with just 3. Nebraska had 2 turnovers in the second half compared to the 11 in the game for Maryland. That turned into 14-3 on the points off of turnovers. And then Rienk obviously getting some of those points inside, Frager getting those points inside, 26-14 on the points in the paint.
Yeah. That was getting points in the paint. It was a bunch of stuff even on the overall stats that you haven't seen from Nebraska's offense this year. Not this year, but recently, I should say. Whether it be the free throws, whether it be the points in the paint, whether it be kind of the pace that they were playing with. Nebraska ended up with 18 assists during this game. And
that's another point there.
Yeah.
The 18 assists to 23 makes. There were only 5 shots that Nebraska made that were not assisted on.
Yeah, it was just a really, even when it wasn't going well for Nebraska, it was still kind of a different style of offense than we've seen in the last month or so from Nebraska. And Maryland is a team that switches every screen. There were some things I think that had to do with the matchup in that game as well. But I thought that was interesting. Other things, Jamarcus Lawrence specifically, he couldn't hit anything. He was 1 for 7 shooting tonight and 1 for 5 from 3, missed both of his free throws. And, keep in mind, he is both got an ankle issue and he was coming off yet another case of the flu.
Being sick,
He was not a part of the game, in normal part of the game prep. And so he was kind of coming in without the kind of prep that he typically has for a game, in both, I think, physically and mentally in this game. That said, he was distributing the ball tonight. 6 assists for him, and I still think he was really the catalyst, the way that he pushed the pace in transition. He got it going down I don't know if he got told to do that or what, but it looked different in terms of the intentionality of pushing pace with him. So they would have the rebound.
So here's what it was, and I'm curious if you noticed this too. He started, I don't know who started it, but they were really mixing it up with Jamarcus to where he's turning and looking at the officials, wanting calls. When he does that, that's when I'm always on the lookout for an FU3, because he's going to pull. He's going to try to go get one on somebody. He's one of those guys that, when he plays mad, he's trying to make a point. And during that stretch, he played like that, but instead of it being an FU3 happening, it was him just pushing pace. Immediately, as soon as you had a
great way to put it.
As soon as you had a steal or a rebound, he got the ball and just went. And that was the part where he was playing mad in that stretch, and it boosted the whole offense.
I've never seen someone play mad and get more assists. I'll show you.
Did you guys see how good that was?
But that extra pass to that quick pass, he had a couple of those just in that last 10 minutes where he was just quick passes right away, and they couldn't catch up. And he pushed it the entire time.
Yeah.
Kenny, super chat from Kenny. Thank you. He says, go look up Sam Hoiberg's stats senior season versus Mateen Cleve senior season. This was the kind of game you have in the tourney mid-major type game. This is the kind of game you have in the tourney mid-major type game. Okay, Sam Hoiberg's senior stats versus Mateen Cleve's senior season. I'm kind of curious about that.
Okay,
I wouldn't have thought of them as necessarily similar players, but
so for Cleves, his senior year, 31 minutes a game, and where's the point? 12.1 points a game, 3.7 turnovers, 1.4 steals, almost 7 assists.
Okay, so I've got Sam's right here.
Well,
so
and then 1.8 rebounds a game. There's a giant difference in that for Sam.
So points, Sam's 9.5, so he's a little under on points. What did you say? Assists? What did Mateen have?
6.9.
Jeez. All right. Sam has 4.6. But Sam is getting, is that right? 5 rebounds a game?
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. And he had 7 tonight.
Tonight again with the springboard rebounds. It's crazy what he's doing out there.
Yeah.
He keeps sort of reinventing a new part of his game. It feels like every couple of weeks. And I don't think, he's not going to be first team Big Ten, but man, the way he is playing right now is at such a high level and is so multifaceted. the steals have always been there. They continue to be there. The defensive effort, he had the multiple times with that tonight, but now and then some of the scoring got there. First, some of the outside shooting got there. Then some of the driving and finishing at the rim got there, and now you're getting like the rebounding, and it's just, man, I could not be more impressed with him almost every game down the stretch, a little bit more than the last.
I still think he's got a really good chance at all defensive team.
I would hope so.
Yes.
Jeez. 2.1 steals a game. Yeah, he is so it's gonna suck when he's not there. Like, you don't know. We're gonna miss that, I think, more than we even realize.
And here's the thing, Jack, when we're talking about obviously the comparisons that you can make for him his senior year, but he should make the all defensive team. There's going to be arguments for him to make all Big Ten third team.
Think so?
Like I think there will be arguments. I don't think he'll make it. I think he'll still be honorable mention, because like the scoring aspect of it. But if he's all defensive team and he's scoring just enough, and he's doing the rebounding, and he leads the country in assist to turnover ratio, like there's certainly an argument for what he does on a tournament team, fighting for a top 3 seed line. Like he should be in the conversation at least.
Yeah. And I mean, and Price, because he's putting up the numbers, he'll be, if there's somebody who makes an appearance on one of those teams, he's probably got a chance too.
I think Price and Rienk will be, well, in Rienk, he's just struggled so much, but so maybe he falls to a third team, but I think Price is going to be first team. And depending on how some stuff goes, maybe he slips to second, but I think he's a first team all Big Ten player.
Man, if Nebraska can just survive, if Nebraska can survive this down stretch with Rienk Mast and somehow get him right for the postseason, however you do that,
yep,
that is it. Like, if you start to see that again in the postseason, like you saw in just little flashes tonight, that's going to be the most exciting thing for this team, to have him, because that's you've got to have it if you want to be talking about getting weird, if you want to be talking about maybe even playing in the second weekend of this tournament. For sure. If it's, if they're a 2 or a 3 seed, even a 4 seed, like, I think they can win without him, being at his best. But to go much further than that, you're going to have it.
Yeah.
You're just going to have it.
Yep.
So, all right, let's do anything else on the box score that you saw that you wanted to point out. Maryland shoots 33% from 3, Nebraska 34%, so slightly better. Maryland shoots only 38% from the field, missed a lot of shots. And then the offensive rebounds, I'm actually surprised. Maryland only had 7. It felt like they had more than that, because there were a couple of possessions that felt like they had like 3 or 4. But they ended up only have 7 offensive rebounds, as did Nebraska in that game.
Well, and Nebraska had 3 on one possession that I remember during that 18-3 stretch.
Yeah.
But we talk about Sam Hoiberg's all-around game, Price Sanford all around with 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, and a steal in there. And I do think we should shout out Jared Garcia, because I think rightfully are kind of tough on him offensively with taking care of the basketball or when he shoots. He only played 7 minutes. It was all in the first half, and it was a necessary 7 minutes for him to be out there. But he makes his 1-3, doesn't turn the ball over. He went out, he did his job, he got out. Like that stands out to me.
How about Cale Jacobson only getting 8 minutes in the game? He barely played in the second half. He only got 8 total minutes in that game. Almost all. I think he might have got a minute or 2 in the first.
It was 4 in the first half, 4 in the second half.
Oh, he did get 4. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was more in the. So he didn't get much. I don't know exactly what that was. Probably a matchup thing, but it was kind of a different rotation than we've seen from Nebraska, because he was not a big part of it during the game tonight.
Yeah. It was a 6-man rotation with 2 guys to come in and eat some minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the bench, he ended up having no points, had 1 steal, didn't have a rebound or an assist, had 1 shot. That's all he did out there. And like you said, Garcia had the 1-3 where he was wide open, and hit the 3 that he took. during the game as well. And then the other thing I want to mention, and there's not much on the stat sheet for Bear K in this game, other than he got to the free throw line 7 times. Unfortunately, only made 4 of them. I thought during the first half, he was kind of a catalyst for the team. He looked, I said to my son, I was like, he almost looks like he's faster or more spry or something. And we're like, well, maybe he lost 10 pounds like Rienk did, but it helped him. I don't know what it was. And it wasn't so much, I didn't notice it as much in the second half, but getting steals and playing defense and just kind of moving in a way that it felt like I haven't seen him move a whole lot this year. And again, there wasn't much on the box score as a result of it. He got 1 steal, 1 assist. That was a good assist, and just those 2 rebounds, but did get to the free throw line a bunch. There was something about him in the first half that I kind of liked, and then it wasn't as much in the second half.
Right. But still, there are things that, like, when you watch the game, and especially when you see some of these guards in forward, especially the ones that are more winged and kind of like big man forwards, when you get the switch and you get Bear K on you, where they're like, I'm gonna take him, and like he locked that down quite a bit early. And that's one of the things that when you get this team playing so well defensively, and it's not just, does Sam lock you down? Does Kale come in and play really tough defense? Do you get good help from Bear K and Rienk? And here's the other thing, talking defensively. I was really impressed, and I do think it was the second half too, with Frager's effort on the defensive side of the ball. Like, just going through that, when you have all of these guys doing this, it takes your team to a different level. Now match the offense with it. They matched the offense with it late in the second half. If you would have matched the offense from the get-go, you probably win by 30.
Yeah. Jason on the Discord says Frager's effort on D was huge in the first half. Exactly what you just said there. Some of the other comments on the Discord. DW says Nebraska shot 75% on 18 24 for free throws. And he said, and I think all the misses were in the first half, made a bunch in a row in the second half. Yeah, they had a bad number in the first half. They had missed, I think they missed 5.
Went
4 or 5.
10 for 11 in the second half.
Yeah. Okay. So only
8 of 13
1.
in the first.
Yep. So that I thought was impressive. DW also says Sam Hoiberg's conditioning is freaking incredible.
Yes.
You also, and that's what it is about. That's that thing in the end of the game that I'm talking about. And Jordan said about Hoiberg, love seeing him boxing out their big man to get the rebound. And that is it. Again, that's the new leaf he's turned over, is going up in the trees and getting rebounds.
Oh, here's something
timing
for you.
That jump right. What do we got?
As I got the notes from Seamus, the post-game notes, Hoiberg is now up to 151 career steals. He's the 9th Husker to record at least 150. His 59 steals this season are the most since which Husker had 82 in 2000-2001?
Cookie Belcher.
That's right. That's right.
All-time steals leader for Nebraska. That was an easy one. Give me someone harder than that. Jeez.
Okay. What was the last team for Nebraska to have 13 conference wins?
13. God, it's so hard because I can never remember how many games were played in the conference. Because what was the Big 12 schedule? How many games did they play in the Big 12? It wasn't 20, right? Was it?
No.
So they probably played every team twice. No, maybe not. I don't know. I'm gonna say 1998.
2017-18. They went 13-5.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Talk about a team that hurt. Man, don't make me think about that year. Oh, so much sadness about that year. Bruce says, can we hire an SEC lawyer to get Sam another year of eligibility? Good question.
Not just a lawyer, but you need a judge too.
That's true. You need a friendly.
You need the local judge.
Friendly judge. So since we just finished our look at the box score, we then ask, who is your Ryan Anderson Memorial Player of the Game? Ryan Anderson is not dead. He's just the namesake of the Nebrasketball Pod award that we have inherited here on our show. You want to do the 1, 2, 3 thing again?
Yeah, we can do 1,
All
2,
right.
3.
All right. 1,
1,
2,
2,
3.
Sam
Braden
Hoiberg.
Frager. Wow.
Ooh.
I thought I was going to be the one who did that, and then I didn't. And then I sometimes just get too. I'm afraid I'm just getting sort of just overly emotional about Sam because of his style of play, and so because at one point it looked like Frager might take over the game, like in the first half. He was the only one who could get anything going on the offense. He passed up a couple of shots, even I thought in that first half when he was on a roll, and if he could add consistent driving to his game, which he can sometimes do, but he doesn't go to it a lot, man, he would be a dynamic player. He already is, but he would be a really, really scary player.
Well,
you could add that, especially if he another off season.
Yeah, and he, especially the argument for him is one, leading and scoring, all the other things he did in the game, because like he also grabbed 8 rebounds, had a steal, had an assist, but it was him coming in and scoring stopped how long is it going to go for Nebraska? How long is this going to stretch out? Is it going to get worse? Is Maryland going to go on a run and then make you feel like you've got to climb out of an even deeper hole? But just and this doesn't take away from Braden. This doesn't take away from Price and his scoring and how important that was. Just Sam's importance at like all times of the game, and especially that stretch where when things are going right for the team and the way he's playing defense as part of that 18-3 run. It put the game out of reach. It ended it right there. It was the kill shot. It was the last blow. And I know that, I think we said this the other night, the Ryan Anderson Memorial Player of the Game it's Sam Hoiberg, and then who's second?
Yes.
And I picked Sam.
Yeah, and you picked Sam. I was going to, but and then because I looked at the box score when we were doing that, I was thinking about doing that, but Frager also had 8 rebounds in that game as well.
Yeah.
And that, man, Sanford and Frager both had 8 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
They almost both had doubles in that game. That's crazy. And if you can bring both, I mean, there is those two as the dynamic duo. If they can bring both of them back next year, is going to be pretty interesting when you see who they pair with them. And I assume you could have Bear K back with them too.
Yeah,
that will be pretty interesting to have those two sort of be the kind of the dynamic duo of scoring for Nebraska.
Right.
Got to bring them back. They're going to be they're going to be getting some offers, which makes me too early to talk about that. But those guys both are going to be on the target list of many other teams. Okay. So before we talk about what's coming up, we need to say some thank yous. The I-80 Club is going to the tourney wherever it is. Now we're going to talk about where it's going to be here in just a second, but we're going whether we got to get on a rental car, whether we load up on the van or a bus, whether we are on a flight, we're going to be heading to the tournament. And that's thanks to Husker Power Products, our title sponsor. They are the ones who made this happen. Without Husker Power Products, we are covering this from our basements and bedrooms once again. But they made it happen, and then we've been adding on to it with some additional contribution. We were like, hey, we want local businesses that follow the Huskers to be a part of this as well. And we've got a few of them who have become our community partners: Sandstone Wealth Management, Eye Surgical Associates, The Still, Fine Wine and Spirits, 5-Star Bass Solutions, Sutton Linder and Sutton as well. So thank you, everyone. Shout out to Trent and Aaron and Tyler and Don and everybody who's been a part of doing this. I believe we're going to be adding a new community partner. We'll be announcing tomorrow, Kaleb.
Ooh.
So that's also exciting. And if there's anybody else who, I'm telling you, it's you're gonna get your name and logos seen a ton if this trip and everything that goes along with it is anything like I think it's going to be. And then the other thing is, if you want to be a part of the road crew, We got our special exclusive collector's item, I-80 Roadshow Dance with the Skurs sweatshirt available. And you can get that at our merch store right now. And there's a link to that right here in YouTube if you would like to go to that. And yeah, it's a little more expensive than you might think than just a sweatshirt would be, just a little bit. But this is how you support us on the tour and get out there. And there might be some other perks that are coming along with that as well.
Well, so, Jack, we've had several people buy that hoodie already. They're already on the road crew.
Should be giving some of them shout outs as well. I'm gonna pull that. We'll get them some shout. They're and you're gonna be also on the scroll. You're gonna be able to put messages on the scroll. I should mention that too during all of our shows if you do that. And
well,
so
let
be
me
a part
help
of
you
history.
Corey, Joe, Lindsay, Reese, Lincoln, Jaron, Jordan, Bruce, and Brett. Those are the names I have so far.
Yep. That's awesome. So thank you to them too. And if you want to be a part of that, you can do that too. Get your sweatshirt, whether you're going along to the tournament or whether you are going to be at home. We would love to have you on our road crew and get you one of those exclusive sweatshirts. Okay. Let's talk about what is coming up. Schedule. We already mentioned USC coming up at 3:00 on Saturday. You look at what USC's done. They're at 18-10, 7-10 overall. They had this loss to Oregon on Saturday that I cannot believe that they lost. I don't know if you watched the end of that game, but I can't believe Oregon pulled that game out against them. And that was a devastating loss. Their fourth in a row. You know, back 2.5 weeks ago, it looks like, okay, they're setting up with a good chance to get to the tourney. Then, what was it, a couple of nights ago, UCLA blew them out 81-62. And so maybe that was just last night, 2 nights ago. But they're coming into this game still with some faint hopes, I think, of the tournament, maybe at 18-10. But this will be a huge game for them, for Eric Musselman and USC. But they are coming off of 4 straight losses, and so they need this one in a big way. We'll see how down they are after that. And then, of course, you go to UCLA after that one, which we've talked about. UCLA 19-9, 11-6. So I assume they're safe, Kaleb. I guess I haven't checked that out for sure in terms of bracket matrix with them. I'm going to pull that up right now just because I'm curious and I don't. UCLA is a 10 seed right now.
Okay.
So they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. They were in they'd be the 6th to last team in.
Oh, interesting.
Right there with Indiana. They're right on the same, basically as the same seed line at 10 as Indiana. And then USC, if you're looking at bracket matrix right now, they are the second team out. The first team out is Ohio State. The second team out is UCLA. And by the way, Ohio State down 17 to Iowa.
Right? Yeah.
So that's what we've got. Nebraska still in bracket matrix in that 3 spot. They're at the second 3 seed though in bracket matrix. They're ahead of Gonzaga and Kansas right now on bracket matrix.
Okay.
So for what it's worth, which may not be very much, Florida still ahead of them. I will tell you what right now. Every time I see Florida in seedings, in ratings, and it's going to annoy me. I mean, it is going to annoy the heck out of me with their 6 losses and some good losses, some very good losses in there. But still, there's also losses that aren't that great. And that's actually I think they play Texas tonight. I'm assuming they just rolled Texas because they're great. They're unbelievable.
They're just so good.
84-71. They beat Texas. Come on, Texas. So there you go. With that one, I'm trying to see real quick. Is there anything else affecting Nebraska in the results tonight? It doesn't look like it. Vanderbilt did beat Georgia. UConn blew out St. John's.
No, it
32.
It continues to be like we'll emphasize. Nebraska needs to stay ahead of Kansas when you're looking at can you get Oklahoma City most likely ahead of St. Louis. Got to stay ahead of Kansas. And I think I mentioned this in the Discord, and I know other people have said it too, and we have a great cheering guide from G. Merle that we've been sharing every day. But it might be time to be cheering for the Cyclones if they can get ahead of Illinois or Purdue take St. Louis away from them, and then open up Oklahoma City for Nebraska.
Yeah, if Iowa State is going to St. Louis as their first choice,
Yes.
which the distance would indicate that.
Yes.
Or if that's the case, you should be cheering for Iowa State.
Yeah.
Oddly, it seems to go against what you would think you need to do, but you would like Iowa State to get into St. Louis before Purdue or Illinois does.
Yeah, because then that would, by distance, send Purdue or Illinois to Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Also Purdue and Illinois losing would be great. Again, the things that would be most helpful to Nebraska: Houston, Purdue, Illinois, Florida, Kansas, and Michigan State losing.
Yes.
And Texas Tech, I think I would say too.
Yeah.
Those would be the biggest ones.
And of course, Nebraska just winning out. That'd be great too.
Yeah, for sure. Like if they win out, let me ask you this, Kaleb. Let's say Nebraska, and it's always hard because I just do not know how to factor into the conference tournament about this thing. I've been thinking so exclusively about the regular season and how it impacts things that I think I've maybe overcorrected and I've over minimized the conference tournament. Because what if you beat an Illinois or a Purdue, or lose to them, of course, as well. But if you're right near that same line with those two, which you are right now, there's a part of me that does wonder, and it's not like it's happening Sunday where they can't change the bracket.
Right.
It would be it would be the second game that they would play. So I guess it would be Saturday. But if they did that, it'd be hard given how close these teams are. Like if Nebraska would get two out of three against Illinois.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard given that there's so few games left to put Illinois ahead of them.
Well, and it's one of those things because if you beat Purdue, all of a sudden, okay, well, you beat Purdue on a neutral site, but you lost at home. How close were you in the selection committee's eyes going into that game? How does this next week and a half look for the other games that you have? Now, if it's Illinois, okay, you split with each other, and then you got the rubber match, the third game on a neutral site in the Big Ten tournament. If you're sitting, okay, one's on the 2, one's on the 3, depending on how far those are, you might flip spots if it's those two. I mean, if you see Michigan and you lost at Michigan, but if you beat Michigan, whether it's a semifinal or the championship game, that might slide you around a little bit if you're riding the line.
I given how tightly bunched up Illinois, Purdue, and Nebraska are, especially if the committee has something where they can make it easy on them, I think they might take it with those in determining between those. Now, as the committee looked at it on Saturday, they had Illinois 7, Purdue 8, Nebraska 11.
Yeah.
Now, Kansas has lost a big game and won a big game since then, so I don't know where they've got Kansas, but Kansas was one spot ahead of them, and then Florida above them, and then you get to Purdue.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, they're probably two spot. They're probably you probably have those 3 teams in 4 spots in terms of where the committee has it right now.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting, Jack, when we get done with the Saturday game because of the number of games that will be played between now and then. What is the shifting? Because it seems like every game has the potential to shift, not just where the team playing is, but everyone around them. Because if you get a team that was a net 2 win, and they get a couple of wins, and then they move up, and then all of a sudden that's a quad 1 win, like that changes where you're at for a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then if you want to take a look at the net rankings right now, and this would have been not including today's games, but Nebraska's 11 there. You've got Purdue 6, Illinois 4.
Yeah.
So that's where, on the other hand, you got Kansas at 14.
Yep.
In that one, even after the win against Houston.
Cincinnati just hurting them bad.
That killed them because that would have been that was a quad. Was that a quad 2 or a quad 3 loss for them? That might have been a quad 3 because
Kansas was at home.
Quad 2.
Quad 2.
Let's do a quad 2 for them. In fact, the only team with a quad 1 loss in the top 20, a quad 3 loss. There's 2 of them, and one of them because it's UConn.
Yep.
against Creighton,
Go Jays.
And then the other one's Gonzaga. They lost to I can't remember which of those. If it was
what was it, Portland
or San Francisco or one of those teams. But those are the only ones. Those are the only ones. And Nebraska should not have any more. There's no quad 3 losses left for Nebraska on their schedule. I don't believe. Because UCLA right now, as long as they're in the top 75, UCLA is at 39 and USC is at, where is USC? Did I skip them? They should be safely in there. Maybe it's as Southern Cal. But in any case, I'll find it.
Yeah,
they're 63. So they're not I don't think they're going to drop down any further. Then just a heads up in terms of the games that are coming up. You still have Oregon, Wisconsin, still a half hour away from tipping tonight.
Oh, God.
Yeah, who's staying up to watch that? Oregon, Wisconsin. That was like a Elite 8 matchup several years ago. So you got Oregon, Wisconsin tonight. No real. I mean, I think you probably like Wisconsin to win that game if you're Nebraska, to continue to make that game that win look good. And then you've got tomorrow on the schedule. You have, as I'm pulling this up right now, in the Big Ten, you will have, stalling for time as I pull this up. Thursday, you have a Thursday night game this week, and it's Michigan State at Purdue.
It's a big one
on Peacock. Hello, go Spartans!
And then, so you were a massive Thursday game, Michigan State at Purdue. Massive Friday game,
Michigan and Illinois at Illinois.
Yeah,
I mean that is going to the next 2 nights of standalone Big Ten games are going to tell you a lot about the conference race and the race within the top 3 seeds, because Nebraska's bunched up with those 2 teams in both of those. Right now. So those will be big. And then when you get to Saturday, of course, you've got the Nebraska game coming up at USC. The other games, you've got Iowa at Penn State, Oregon at Northwestern, UCLA at Minnesota, and Wisconsin at Washington. Nothing. I mean, when you have good games on Thursday and Friday, there's nothing left for Sunday or Saturday, I should say. And then Saturday, you do have Purdue going to Ohio State at 12:30
on Sunday.
Now Ohio State just looked putrid right now, but they looked decent against Michigan State the other day at Michigan State. So we'll see if maybe they can pull up an upset there. You got Michigan State at Indiana too.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So that Indiana desperately needs that win. So those will be good games on Sunday. The other thing I wanted to mention before we sign off is if you would right now have the favorite win the rest of the games, and I'm going to the bball.notnothing.net, the Big Ten simulator, which is the tournament simulator. I always love going to this time of year. This picks the higher Torvik rating.
Yep.
And so if you just take all of the favorites in these games, Nebraska would end up as the 3 seed with Purdue as the 2 seed, playing Purdue and missing Illinois and Michigan. Now, first of all, they'd have a game prior to that, which would probably be against Michigan State.
Yep.
Now I don't love that. I don't love that. But if you can get that and you get on the opposite side of both Michigan and Illinois, I think the team you want to see there is Purdue. I want to see them before I want to see Michigan or Illinois in that game.
Absolutely.
Personally.
Yep.
You think so too?
Yeah, I talked about this with Schaefer on Monday. However you get it and all the seeds shake out, like Michigan's most definitely going to be the 1. You want Illinois to be at the 4, and you want to save seeing them for as long as possible.
Yeah. So we'll see it. I mean, it won't stick exactly that way for sure, but
right.
That's what it looks like right now if chalk wins out. All right, we went late. We're going to end it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Nebraska Realty Wahoo Office, for being our sponsor for the Basketball Hour. Thank you all, like 200 of you who are watching live during much of this show. We really appreciate you. And again, on YouTube, doesn't cost anything. Like and subscribe. Get some alerts when we start. I think you might enjoy that. And I want to make sure I did not miss any more super chats.
Nope, you're good.
All right, that's it, guys. Have a good night. We will see you on Saturday about 5:30 after Nebraska and USC, and hopefully celebrating a victory. GBR, see you next time. Bye-bye.